Hello. Sorry, the reason I laugh is because this is my second time I'm trying this, and the first one didn't sound really good. I mean, it was okay, but it was a little bit too formal. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit informal. Oh, there we go. See, that's a sign of informality. There we go. That's fine. Now, what we want to talk about today is about a subject that perhaps every man who gets married eventually may have to deal with it, and that is how to deal with divorce and understand how it affects the children and how to become a single parent. We boys tend to think that it's only mothers who become single parents, and we forget that many of us in this world end up raising their child or children with or without the help of our ex-spouse. And today I think it's appropriate for us to pay a little attention to what happens really, what things we go through after our divorce, and what are perhaps best courses and resources and best ways of dealing with things that may come up between us and the ex, or how to deal with the matters that could affect our children, which is the most important part of the negative effects of divorce. Nobody likes to divorce. I guess when we all get married, we have this wonderful wish and dream of this would be the one and only time that we get married, and we will have a wonderful family and children all around the mother and father, and we try to bring as much of the old values as we can, which is pretty much a difficult task by itself in this day and age when everything is being bombarded to the minds of the children and the adults by the way of the television and the propaganda of all these other mass media and mainstream media and so on. So we try to understand, or we try to focus on how to deal with our children, how to become a better father, or what is the most appropriate way to deal with things that will come up between you and the exes or the ex, and how it would affect the children, and what is the best way to deal with it, aiming and focusing on what would be the best result of how we deal with a certain thing for our children. Because after all, the biggest worry of any good father or mother would be, or should be, how this whole process, the selfish process of divorce, would end up affecting the children. And most often, due to this whole hoopla of me thing era that we are living in, and how it's being bombarded into everybody's head that you're the most important, and what about you, and all this up to a certain extent nonsense that robs people of their unselfish behavior and turns them into a more selfish person. So we need to understand what is the best way that we can put the divorce behind us and focus on how to deal positively with our spouse, and how, most importantly, positively and effectively deal with our children, and to be able to attain that highest level of parenthood with love and care and positivity and positive effects toward our children, and go on and continue building the life as we planned on urgently. As we just touched on it, we all had this dream of having this one only time marriage, and that everything would last forever. And unfortunately, in this day and age, we all know that it doesn't happen that way. The fairy tale, real life, is no more, and it is just a fairy tale. And less number of families end up living together forever, and have that wonderful values of the old-fashioned times. But nevertheless, we can still make a good go at it. And even though if we divorce, we still try to create that warm, positive effect and positive family environment for ourselves and for our children. And whether or not we are together or not with your spouse, it doesn't matter. Remember, at one time, you guys did love each other. That's why you decided to take the biggest step of your life forward, and that was to decide to marry. I mean, how would you have, logically think about it, how would you have decided such a big decision to become a reality for you if you weren't really in love? Because only love can make you make such big decisions. A belief in each other, belief in a certain lifestyle, institution of marriage and matrimony. So you must have loved each other. It's not like you put a gun to your head and said, marry her. You loved her. Remember, you would have done anything for her. I know, she changed. You didn't, she changed. But focus, it's not that anyone changed. It's not about changing, it's about growing. Because, yes, between now and then, you may figure you have changed. But really, you have grown. So the change comes by growing. You can't stop. You can't grow and not have changed from what you used to be and how you used to act before in life. So change is not like something that is devious or bad or a monster, or something bad has happened to your ex-wife or to yourself, and they say, oh, he's not the same person he used to be. Well, of course not. Nothing remains the same in this universe. Nothing. The molecules of tea, coffee, water, whatever it may be, it changes every second, every nanosecond. Everything changes. All the atoms are changing. So the idea of somebody has changed is not supposed to be a negative thing. Understanding the fact that we all are part of this nature, part of this universe, and since all and every bits of everything, all the atoms of everything keeps changing, the whole universe constantly expanding, and we as part of the universe also are subject to all these changes that naturally occurs. So we grew and we have changed, and that's okay. So let's get over that, and let's don't get stuck on the fact that she's changed, I didn't, or she will say you changed and she didn't. Forget that. Both and everything constantly changes, and that's not necessarily bad. It's just a reality. Imagine if you have two same kind seed of a plant or a tree, and if these two same kind of seeds, if they're planted right beside each other, side by side, maybe within a meter or 3 feet distance from each other, or even a few centimeters, a few inches from each other, which is not wise, of course. When you want to plant something, you should have enough space between them. Anyhow, let's don't get off the subject. If we plant two same seeds in the same vicinity, which means they get the same kind of food, the same amount of water, or the same kind of environment around them, you still will see these two plants grow differently, even though they were of the same exact plant family, seed. They're supposed to grow same, but one of them grows maybe on this side, tilted, one of them goes straight up or goes this way, and the other one goes that way, and maybe one of them gets taller because he gets more sun, and one of them doesn't, gets a little bit chubbier. or maybe the nutrition value they get because of the wind that day, the water that was flowing through the earth, it got more of a food to this one and less to the other one. There's so many different variables that even if the seeds are the same, but the environment and the happenings around them affect them differently and generate a different result or response from the plant. So they end up being a little different or more different than little. So if that happens to two same kind of seeds of plants, which are supposed to end up being the same given similar circumstances and environment where they're being planted, then you can't really expect too much from yourself and your wife that come from different backgrounds, different family upbringing, different father, different mother, what they have gone through their lives and what their parents were like, and so much difference. By the time it gets to you and her, you each have so much different habits and understanding and backgrounds that when you fall in love for a short while or for a little longer while, the love simply cascades this beautiful aura or this beautiful shield around you too, which makes you feel you want to cooperate or harmonize or adjust yourself and kind of, I don't know, shape-shift yourself in a way of that is exactly like the other one. So everything will work. But it only is a shield, and its power is being generated from the love that is between you two, which has created that tolerance, that understanding, that desire to make things look as if they are the same. Your habits, your beliefs, your philosophy, your policies, your tolerance. But we all know that nothing is forever, and even love, the hottest love that you can think of, through the time, as everything else as we talked about in the universe changes, the love density or concentration or power also changes, and then the shield that was created around you to kind of cover or mask all these differences of backgrounds and philosophy and upbringing and family values and so on will be gone. And when the shield is gone, your tolerance and then everything else shows the way it really is. There is no love coating everything. And sometimes it takes many years for this shield to go away, sometimes sooner. And in our cases, it's sooner. In our parents' cases, it would last maybe forever or until they pass away, leave us from this world. Or sometimes it would take a long time before it disappears. But in our time, the one generation after, due to the whole environment and the world and the TV and the pressures and bombardment of advertisements and all these wrong role models and everything else and so on, the bombardments are a lot more, so the differences and the effects could become a lot more. And when the shield is gone, a lot more things show themselves that we either never knew about them or never wanted to know about them or never thought it would be that way, that other person, our spouse. But all of that means that we are subject to change. Our love is subject to change, and when that's gone, the shield is gone. When the shield is gone, everybody goes back to where they came from, their upbringing, their values, who they were. And that's where the problems start, because you can see, well, what we thought was totally compatible, it's not really that easy to keep it together because they don't think the same way. Or somehow, for a different reason, they start becoming intolerant of each other's differences, And that could be because, I don't know, maybe they expected a lot more money in the family, and maybe they can't bring that kind of money. Or maybe the wife expects the husband to bring so much more, and maybe just things don't work out that way. Or he has changed. He doesn't want to work that hard. Or maybe he did work hard, but nothing happened, or things didn't happen as he had planned it. It happens. That's life, because all our plans are dependent on so many other economic things and facts that goes on in the world. And just recently, a few years back, you can see how the big corporation, the banks, have messed up everybody's business and so on and so forth. So all these variables have something to do with the results, with the state of the marriage of two people, or relationship of two people who have decided to get married and stay together forever. And then things change. So, considering that the fact that we are basically the same but different, same race, same species, but come from different maybe races, different cultural backgrounds, and now that the world is a little bit smaller, so to speak, and all these cultural differences have an opportunity to fall in love with each other's differences, and then later on they find it, oh, well, I don't want to tolerate that. And of course, really, success of the marriage, or an unsuccessful marriage, really does not have anything to do, or much to do, with the fact that you're from different background or race. It has to do with the fact that even though if you're from the same city and you meet and you fall in love and you have so many things in common before marriage, again, the love will create a shield that you will not see the differences, or the differences that you see, you can manage to tolerate each other's differences and work together, and that love fades away after a while, and even that marriage will not become successful. So it really doesn't have a lot to do with the differences, whether it's family upbringing or not, whether it's difference in which country you were born, which culture you were raised in or not. It has to do with the fact that love, like everything else, has its duration. And as long as it was strong, if you didn't take advantage from its strength and created bondings, enough things to understand each other and understand that this is not a one-way street, both sides have to really give in to this marriage and tolerate each other, well, the result could be the same for every one of us. So now, having talked about that, and hopefully you understand that this is not something unique to you, and that divorce is part of marriage. It's just another step of it. So whenever you think about getting married, understand that is the first stage of a life together. There are other stages of the life together, and that is after the divorce, after the marriage is over, because you still have the life and you still got to go through it together, whether you have so much contact like before or you have a limited contact with each other just because you have children together. But still, you will go through it together. So once married, in most cases, or many cases, you will still have to deal with each other. By getting divorced, it doesn't mean that all your responsibilities are over, or your duty to treat each other humanely and positively and respectfully. It doesn't mean that that duty is over, even though you're divorced. So please understand, after the divorce, it is not time for a war. Divorce does not have to signify a war drum, or drums of war are not supposed to be sounding just because divorce. Well, divorce is a bad word, but it's not supposed to be a bad thing, or it's not supposed to automatically bring about bad stuff just because is divorce. It can be divorce. It's, a positive thing. For example, I suggest when you get divorced, you talk to each other and understand that you have differences and agree that you don't want to live together anymore. But understand you still did love each other at one point. So it is only right to extend that love in a different way still. And if you have children, just make sure that you do that for the most important reasons, which is the proper upbringing of the children. Children need to see relaxation and love so they can carry that on into their life and use it. Use that energy of love, of protection, of safety environment. An environment of love and safety creates relaxation, which puts the child's brain waves in such state that they can create things, they can learn things, they can bring happiness to themselves and to the others. And they will be open to absorb life rather than feeling threatened or tense and trying to protect the little sanity that is left for them. And hopefully your behavior will not result in them feeling that such humongous duties are expected from them, which is unreasonable to expect such things from a child, to deal or to choose or to decide for you where you as parents should have decided. Now, you may say, well, okay, my wife didn't want to do that. Or if you're a lady and you say, oh, my husband, ex-wife didn't want to do that, so I had no choice. I had to get the children involved and create this front and just make the father look as bad as I can make him, or the father makes the wife as bad, the mother as bad as he could make it, so they can win little brownie points from the children, and then they feel stronger and they feel, oh, he likes me, so I'm right, and she, the child, likes me, so prefers me, so I'm right. And just put that all aside. Understand the kind of ordeal you put the child through. And don't do that. Let the child be a child. He or she will have to go through the same, that you are going through, possibly. If this is the society that our children are being raised in, if they're going to be bombarded with all the other stuff that we got bombarded with, even more they may end up divorced too. So they're going to have to deal with that themselves. So it's not humane to have to now let them see so much animosity and fight and war and bitterness and loudness. Bring that to their lives. Not good, right? Let them be children. But you can do that. And how you can do that is just whenever the children are around, talk softly and nicely and lovingly to your wife. And you, the wife, talk softly, nicely and lovingly to your husband. Because the child will feel that that center core of family still exists. The love that was there at one time still is there. So therefore, he won't feel the waves that you two have created, and his little ship will not be constantly moving up and down, at least not as much as yours is, just by that simple, kindness and loving way of talking, softly talking to your spouse in front of the children. If you cause enough disrespect in front of the children may lose respect for the father or the mother. One of them or both of them. If they lose respect for the father or the mother, it's going to be more difficult for them to deal with their own problems in their daily lives as they will go through stages of life, and they will have questions and problems and challenges, and the anger and discomfort and disrespect that they would feel runs in the family may create an environment or a propensity toward becoming a troublemaker, or propensity to lean toward or be attracted to the negative side of life or the people around them. And you don't want to be responsible. You don't want to do that. If anything, you want to do whatever you can that the child feels safe, protected, growing in a family with a foundation, cooperation, kindness, love, that they can trust to come and lay down their problems and tell you about them and ask for support. Otherwise, if they see that you're constantly fighting with each other in disrespectful behavior, interactions, why would they think and be convinced that they can bring their problems to you and get answers? Because they will feel you can't even solve your own problems, so why would I go to mom or dad and ask? And if you have caused enough problems that the child or the children have lost respect of both parents, I mean, neither parents have any respect in their eyes, that becomes very difficult when they reach a certain age. As you know, to be a good parent, you have to create that bond and trust and friendship while they're very little. You can't wait until they're 16 and 17, then start becoming close and take them to tennis or, I don't know, soccer or swimming or other activities just to bond with them. It's a little bit too late. Your bonding starts right from day one. That's why I'm saying if you're getting divorced, don't forget you're getting divorced from each other. You're not getting divorced from their children. And the children didn't choose for you guys to go away from them. And if you are a lady and you chose a boyfriend, well, you chose not to live with your husband. The child didn't choose to find another father. And if you're a man and you have a girlfriend after the divorce, well, the child didn't choose to have a new mother. So you got to make sure, both of you, that the child still feels there is a family, there's a mother and there's a father, and their respect is in their own place. It's not that father has a girlfriend and the hell with the mother. You shouldn't create that kind of a environment in their minds. And how? Not disrespecting mother at all, especially not in front of the child. And the mother, just because you have a boyfriend, that doesn't mean he's now supposedly the man of the house, or he has a relationship with you, and that's fine. But he should have no relationship with a child. Nobody knows who he is. Boyfriends come and go. You can't suddenly inject that man or allow that man to come into that environment of the child and start being a role model. That man was not chosen by the child's dad, as that woman that the father is going out with was not chosen by the child's mother. So the mother and father, who are now divorced, must keep respect of each other by the way they talk with each other, interact with each other in front of the child, and even when the child is not there. And also must not, just because they now love somebody else or they get their certain needs and attention attended to by another man or another woman, that doesn't qualify that person that suddenly to become a part of the child's life too. Even though if that person turns out to be a real nice guy, but at the moment, until it is known that he's a nice guy, it will be a few years. And you can't just take the risk because, oh, I think he's going to be a real nice guy. He can be around the children. No. It's just normal. And a few years later, by the time child is old enough, he will know a thing or two. And everything would be in a little bit more manageable state. And everything would be more open and known about the people that are around. So let's not be disrespectful to each other in front of the child, our children. And in the next session, we will talk a little bit more, and we talk about how to deal with the children when you're alone with them. Have a nice day or night, and talk to you soon.